Before you knew the sound of your own name, before you learned what love was supposed to mean, you felt it. The sting of shame, the hush that told you who you should be. It wrapped itself around your heart, shaping every smile, every silence. Tonight, we sit with that first feeling, the one that never quite left. Not to blame the past, but to understand how deeply it taught you to hide. Because shame is a teacher that never stops speaking until you choose to listen. And in that listening, let it go. As we begin this journey into the silent spaces of early life, let us softly tread into the mysterious realm where words have yet to find their voice, and emotions speak through whispers of presence and absence. In the nascent layers of consciousness, where the world is a sensory tapestry, lies the cradle of our first emotional encounters. Here in this delicate cocoon, infants wade into a world rich with sensations, a subtle interplay of warmth, sound and touch. It is amidst this quiet ballet that a frown might cloud a parent's face, or a telling pause may linger in the air, signalling a shift too profound for words. This is the birthplace of shame, a silent intruder not as thought, but as a shadowy ambience imparting a vague sensation that something is amiss in the tender soul just beginning to unfurl. This journey reveals that these early encounters with shame exist beyond the grasp of intellect, nesting instead within the visceral. An infant, trusting and dependent, is acutely attuned to the emotional landscapes of its caregivers. A mere withdrawal of a gaze or disappearing warmth registers deeply, carving an impression not easily erased. The language in use here is ancient, composed not of spoken words but of silent gestures, expressions laden with meaning. Thus the humble beginnings of shame find purchase, not in understanding but in a palpable sense of estrangement, a quiet dissonance between the self and the sanctuary of love. Here within this unnameable space, shame first stirs, inscribing into the psyche the earliest inklings of self-perception, weaving threads into the tapestry of emotional responsiveness. In this silent world where gentle coos and cooing whispers reign supreme, a loss of warmth or a soft sigh, loaded with unspoken disappointment, etches lessons upon the unguarded heart. Each shift in tone or absence of a smile imprints a message, understood instinctively. A child leans closer to emotional safety, interpreting the symphony of silent cues that guide them unseen. These non-verbal teachings write the first lines of a story that whispers of insufficiency, shaping behaviours not yet conscious, but profoundly formative. Here, within the nursery's threshold, the dance of emotional safety and risk begins. An intricate choreography of unsaid words, unuttered looks that set the stage for the child's lifelong narrative. This act of reading between the unseen, a dialogue of expressions, gestures, and tones, forms the foundation where shame is carefully laid. A simple change in intonation, an expression unaligned with affection, reverberates beyond its moment, forging an emotional map within the infant's world. It is here that the concept of self begins to twist and fold, not from a place of conscious choice, but through a perceived need to align with external expectations. To please is to be safe. Thus, the child learns to sheath aspects of the self in search of acceptance. Imagine the infant, existing as an emotional sponge, absorbing the textured whispers of its environment, where approval and disapproval resonate within its growing self-awareness. This absorptive state imprints a primordial understanding, an initial sketch of the emotional blueprint upon which the architecture of future self-perception is built. The subtleties of parental responses weave deeply into the fabric of an evolving identity, filtering all future encounters through the lens of perceived belonging or alienation. It is a framework that shapes how the child will relate to others, handle adversity, and find their place in life's vast tapestry. And so, as the years unfold, these first shadows follow, an ever-present companion, whispering doubts and echoing throughout the corridors of the mind. Though perhaps buried in time's embrace, their influence persists, subtly contouring decisions and perceptions, forming the inner landscape where the whisper of authenticity pleads to be met with compassion. Yet, to understand this invisible fellow traveller is to unwrap the layers of innocence lost, allowing us to turn tender eyes inward and ask the unasked to see the unseen. In peeling back these layers, we find the seeds of healing, a path lit softly by understanding and acceptance. The shadows that once haunted the nursery hold not the final say, for they are but shadows. As the alchemist transforms lead into gold, awareness is the catalyst for change. Recognition breathes possibility, releasing the vestiges that bind, allowing us to embrace the fullness of who we are, liberated from the constraints of early fears. This gentle exploration offers a call to rediscover that which was dimmed but never extinguished, the luminous essence of self, vibrant and whole, waiting patiently to be seen. Through compassionate inquiry, the chains of early shame begin to loosen, revealing a self untethered by old narratives, infused with the trust to unveil the silken threads of one's truth, a rich tapestry, unburdened by shadows. As we bring our journey to a close, we pause to honour the whispers of the past, each a compass pointing toward the enduring light within, guiding us home to ourselves. In the hushed beginnings of life before language takes root, children exist in a world of silent understanding, a realm where approval and disapproval are whispered on the winds of expression. The arch of an eyebrow, the gentle rise and fall of a caregiver's voice, the tilt of a head, these become a child's first instructors in the unspoken language of acceptance. Alas, in these early encounters, small ones learn the delicate dance of shame, that subtle yet powerful force that quietly advises them of danger, beckoning them to change course, lest they find themselves adrift in the waters of disconnection. The landscape of infancy and toddlerhood is marked by this invisible compass, alerting children to the potential withdrawal of affection. Through repeated, nuanced interactions, they begin to absorb not only the explicit instructions given by their guardians, but also the implicit rules of belonging. This silent choreography, ever present, shapes the child's emerging sense of self, casting shadows upon their perceptions of safety and esteem. In this environment, shame becomes more than emotion. It is an atmospheric presence, a mirror reflecting their burgeoning awareness of societal expectations and personal identity. As their world unfurls into the more structured surroundings of social arenas, toddlers transition from sensing shame in the quiet of family to recognizing it in the bustling chorus of community. Be quiet. Share your toy. Do not disrupt. These edicts set the parameters of their interactions. The act of succumbing or resisting these guidelines leads to judgments both external and internal. Shame, there again, tempering their impulses and tailoring their identities. Conformity is thus purchased at the expense of personal exploration, and what was once an innate exuberance may become tempered by silent self-reproach. In this theatre of early life, self-censorship emerges as a mechanism for navigation. Children come to understand that to experience the world safely, they must adjust, retreating into corners of compliance to escape the unease of scorn. This learner's survival tactic, though protective, sows seeds of dissonance between the vibrant inner spark and the acceptable public face. It offers a facade of security, whispering promises of protection, even as it curtails authentic self-expression. Woven into the fabric of their nascent identity, shame's legacy is complex. It fosters a persona defined by caution, navigating life's tapestry with tentative steps, ever alert to maintaining the fragile balance of acceptance. The early impressions of worth and ability are sketched with the ink of doubt, leaving in their wake a questioning heartbeat of uncertainty about their completeness and capability. Unless soothed and reframed by affirming experiences, this narrative risks anchoring them in a place of perpetual hesitance. A caregiver's role in this delicate dance is vital, shaping the emotional milestones that will guide the child through life's journey. If met with recognition and tender acknowledgement, shame becomes a stepping stone to resilience, a transformative lesson in emotional fluidity. In contrast, dismissal amplifies its voices, embedding feelings of inadequacy as facets of their identity rather than transient waves to be navigated and surpassed. Herein lies the weighty responsibility and privilege of a caregiver, to soften the jagged edges of shame and foster a nurturing climate of emotional courage. From the shadows of these early teachings, fear and anxiety often emerge as silent companions. The constant potential for disapproval breeds a heightened state of alertness, a protective vigilance against the unpredictable sting of exposure. Children tread lightly and watchfully, sidestepping opportunities and originality, their natural spontaneity constrained by the vigilance of self-preservation. Thus, the terrain of childhood, so ripe with curiosity, becomes a landscape scattered with caution, occasionally forsaking moments of discovery for the safety of invisibility. In the wider echo chamber of societal engagement, the loop of shame tightens, reinforced by the mimicry and echoes of peers who, knowingly or not, bear witness to a child's conformity to collective norms. This cycle insidiously bolsters the child's inclination towards uniformity, obscuring the distinctive voices within them and reminding them of the perennial choice between being loved and being themselves. The fulfillment of belonging often demands a price, one that can overshadow the liberating embrace of self-authenticity. Yet in this intricate ecosystem of emotion lies a palette of resilience and understanding. Here, emotions such as shame, guilt, and fear intertwine in subtle harmony, creating a nuanced guide by which the child learns to interpret the world. When faceted with self-compassion, these emotions transform from burdens into allies. They remind us that mistakes do not define, but rather illuminate paths for growth. A child taught the gentle art of forgiving oneself learns to rise above the shackles of self-censorship, discovering in its place the courage to explore and expand. As time weaves its tale, the early compass of shame reveals a deeper lesson, an invitation to authenticity. To embrace one's true self is to peel away the layers of learned constraint, to re-emerge with a voice that is both strong and tender. Though such a return demands vulnerability and the unlearning of entrenched narratives, it offers the ultimate liberation, the joyous exploration of self, divested from judgment and bathed in the common warmth of humanity. In the quiet recesses of our being, somatic memory whispers ancient tales of our encounters, marrying the physical to the emotional in an intimate dance. Picture your body as a repository of echoes, where each muscle and sinew holds the memory of triumph and laughter, as well as the heaviness of disappointment and shame. These invisible narratives reside beneath the skin, manifesting in unguarded moments, a simple glance, a cutting tone, or the silent grip of tension. Such instances testify that the body faithfully archives every emotional footprint, allowing shame to linger with a particularly stubborn tenacity. Even when our minds shy away from these recollections, our bodies bear witness, tightening shoulders and halting breath as if caught in time. In the unfolding of behavioural psychology, these somatic reactions stand as wordless storytellers of emotions long hidden. This tapestry of body and feeling reveals a path towards healing, urging us to heed our physical cues and thereby address, understand, and eventually release the shame that binds us. Within the fluidity of our muscles lies a court where subtle judgments are rendered upon us from birth. Innocent childhood errors often meet reproach, embedding a physical memory that speaks to our evolving identity. Over years, these embodied encounters weave habitual patterns, drawing our posture inward, encasing us in a protective shield against potential censure. Jungian psychology sees this as our shadow, marking an unacknowledged self-surfacing in unforeseen ways. When we pause to listen to the tension at rest in our bodies, we begin a dialogue with facets of our human experience, long yearning for recognition. In this gentle confrontation, somatic awareness unveils its transformative power. Practices like yoga and mindful movement encourage quiet unraveling, inviting compassion into spaces once filled with shame. Each stretch and slow breath becomes a welcoming, where hidden emotions are allowed expression and release, forging a coexistence of body and emotion marked by acceptance and growth. Breath, an unremarkable rhythm of life, cradles immense potential as a conduit to our emotions. In moments where shame ensnares us, it often cloaks our breathing in shallowness and irregularity, perpetuating unnoticed cycles of tension. Yet, when embraced with intention, it morphs into a grounding force, connecting us with our depths. Through aware breathing, we embark on a journey of emotional communion, drawing forth the shadowed layers of exposure within us. Each deliberate inhale nurtures acceptance. Every exhale relinquishes the tight hold of abdomen-imprinted shame, promoting a dialogue aligned with existential presence and introspection. Our bodily postures speak in silent volumes, mirroring concealed emotions that lie beneath our surface. Those burdened by shame may carry it visibly, shoulders slumped as if to shield from anticipated judgment. By recognizing body language's narrative power, we open a passage to understanding and transformation. Small adjustments in stance bear witness to monumental shifts within, and these nuanced changes offer grounding that supports larger revelations of selfhood and acceptance. The jaw, quiet and often overlooked, can mirror a stronghold of the unspoken, holding emotions unexpressed. Its tension echoes moments of withholding words or feelings, composing an internal story that shapes itself in physicality. With conscious relaxation and gentle practices, we're invited to soften this tension, breaking cycles of repression and engaging in a revelation of inner silence. Such awareness fosters healing, urging us to explore tangible, corporeal manifestations of resilience. Repetitive motions like the rhythmic tapping of keys or the steady path of a walk harbour embedded stories of unconscious coping. With intention, these seemingly mundane actions morph into opportunities for emotional interpretation and catharsis. Through deliberate integration of pauses, we transform mechanical habits into canvases of awareness, permitting release in the presence of previously unseen burdens. With mindful practice, movement evolves into a connection with the self, inviting harmony where shame festered. Mindful presence, with its heritage of emotional healing, offers a transformative lens when viewed through the body. A crossroads for acknowledging latent shame, it invites emotions to surface in a conscious embrace. The choreography of this practice involves a deep conversation, fostering an understanding of a holistic self and its embrace of both body and emotion. In the embrace of movement therapies, we find graceful avenues for reconciling buried shame, spaces where deliberate movement transcends spoken language, dance, Tai Chi or yoga serve as sanctuaries for self-expression. Each rhythm offers an invitation to explore and integrate, allowing shadow and light to converse in tandem and guiding us toward empowerment. These rhythmic journeys demand patience, but promise transformation, providing a destination where shame finds respectful release. Rituals, quietly powerful, anchor us with their rhythmic symphony, creating sacred spaces within the mundane. Each intentional action, whether the making of tea or the solace of a bath, mirrors invitations to confront and release hidden shame with gratitude. Through these repeated actions, embodied intentions navigate landscapes of healing, allowing emotions to find acceptance and expression. As we shift beyond shame's constraints, we discover the transformative potential in letting physical expressions serve as temporal signposts rather than permanent scars. Journeying through somatic awareness with curiosity, the body becomes a vessel of integration, leading us into expanses of self-redefinition. In uniting insights from psychology and mysticism, we empower ourselves to move forward with empathy and understanding, crafting ever-evolving narratives marked by truth and the luminous acceptance of an ongoing journey of becoming. In the vast landscape of childhood's endless wonder, there is a silent and shadowed curriculum that unfolds in the early years of schooling. A curriculum not written in books but whispered in corridors and beneath towering trees where children gather. Here in the quiet spaces between laughter and learning, shame finds fertile soil, its growth unseen yet deeply felt. The playground, once a sanctuary of unbridled imagination, becomes instead an amphitheatre where societal norms begin to play their subtle yet powerful role. In these formative spaces, the language of shame is learned not through words but through feeling, an unease, a pause, a hesitation that creeps into young hearts before they even realise it. Without speaking, children absorb the lessons of conformity, how it is best to fit in, to stay silent, to avoid standing out. The unspoken rules of behaviour settle like dust on their small shoulders, teaching them that deviation invites scrutiny, that the safety of acceptance lies in obscuring their true selves. It is here in this quiet unfolding that shame begins to carve its niche, aligning young minds with the invisible script that says sameness equates to safety. The quest for academic approval adds another layer to this intricate dance. School, that hallowed ground of knowledge, inadvertently transforms into a theatre where performance is everything. Grades become more than letters and numbers. They take on the weight of identity, casting verdicts on worth and capability. A slip of a pen becomes a scar upon the self, the fear of failure lurking in every shadowed corner. In these early years, the insidious belief takes root that excellence must be earned at the expense of authenticity, that to falter is to lose the love and admiration of those who matter most. Navigating the complexities of social hierarchies further fuels the fire of shame. Within the microcosm of the schoolyard, invisible lines are drawn, dividing children into roles maintained by whispered judgments. To step outside the bounds of these unspoken hierarchies risks the sting of envy or the scornful eye, learning from an early age that standing out can be both a beacon and a burden. The strength of peer critique propels conformity, forging a society where being different is perilous. As these layers of expectation settle upon young hearts, gender roles and expectations weigh heavily on their journey towards self-discovery. From an early age, children are gently nudged into boxes labelled by society: boys to be strong, girls to be gentle. Each deviation from these archetypes risks the sting of being cast as other, teaching them that authenticity must be masked to avoid scorn's bite. In their earnest attempts to meet these roles, they begin a quiet disavowal of parts of themselves, hiding the fullness of their being in the shadow of judgment. Amidst all this, ridicule emerges, cloaked in humour yet sharp as a dagger. What starts as teasing can easily slip into derision, cutting away at self-worth with every careless laugh. To navigate the terrain of shared vulnerabilities without falling prey to its sharp edges demands skill and courage, and often results in silence, an agreement to tread lightly and avoid the mirth of mockery at any cost. In the face of this palpable unease, children often wear a mask of indifference. By concealing their true selves beneath layers of compliance, they learn to navigate the maze of adolescence without giving voice to their inner lives. Yet this compliance comes at the cost of individuality, shrinking their once vibrant selves into something shadowy and diminished. The constructed facades provide a false sense of comfort, but beneath them lies the yearning for authentic expression, a yearning stifled by the persistent echo of shame. Over the years, this inclination toward devaluing the authentic self becomes a quiet companion. In their quest for external approval, children cover the shimmering hues of their personalities with the grey shades of indifference, becoming adept at self-censorship to appease the ever-watchful eyes of societal norms. Possibly this transformation seems trivial in the moment, yet it gradually enforces the idea that who they are might never be quite enough. And within these school walls, shame becomes a looming barrier to self-expression. Artistic ventures and creative brilliance retreat into the shadows, intimidated by the cost of nonconformity. The dream of liberty trembles, uncertain of its place among peers, hardened by scorn. Yet it is this very tension, the push and pull of longing and fear, that shapes the heart's resolve to someday reclaim its voice. In the midst of this complex interplay, educators hold the key, the capacity to nurture or inhibit the student's blossoming. Their role, whether consciously or unconsciously, can tip the balance toward light and understanding, or further mire it in shadows of shame. Awareness of this power, infused with compassion, can inspire environments where inclusion and dialogue thrive, a sanctuary where shame's grip is loosened, and every child invited to explore their authentic self freely. Thus, as the echo of School Bell fades, this story of shame transforms into one of potential transformation. Within the hearts of those who listen deeply and speak kindly lies the promise of a new narrative, one where the tender embers of truth rekindle, standing unabashedly in the light of their own potential. Here, in the safe embrace of acceptance, every child finds the courage to step out from shame's shadow into the brilliance of their own unfolding story. In the tender shade of early memory, before words could weave their nets around emotions, the first reflections of self emerge. A child gazes into the world, receiving affirmations or subtle negations mirrored back through the expressions of those closest. In these reflective pools, the seeds of self-worth find their soil. Warmth and acceptance gently nourish the belief in one's own lovability and competence. Yet when the mirror is clouded with indifferent or critical appraisals, the early whispers of shame take root, transforming budding innocence into a vessel shadowed by unworthiness. This delicate dance within the cradle of social mirroring begins a tale of internalization, a silent dance where the heart learns to interpret its own worth through the arbitrary reflections it perceives before words even find their form. As time unfolds its gentle scroll, shame evolves into an insidious architect, shaping the contours of identity through the quiet sculpting of inner whispers. It operates unseen yet tangible, embedding narratives that define self-worth, turning ordinary thoughts into weighty judgments such as, I am not good enough, or I am flawed. These beliefs draw strength from repetition, gaining depth with each echo of perceived failure. They form a subtle current beneath the surface of consciousness, steering identity through the waters of self-perception and social interaction. The crafted identity becomes like a delicate mask, a callous shield against vulnerability, obscuring authenticity beneath layers of self-doubt. A facade grown familiar, yet confining, often reflecting society's mould rather than the soul's true yearning. Within this crafted identity resides an influential inner critic, a voice forged by the fires of shame, relentless in its pursuit of perceived perfection. This critic acts as an omnipresent arbiter, continuously measuring one's actions against an elusive standard. Born from early scrutiny, it gains strength over time, relentlessly amplifying failures while whispering shortcomings with authority. Under its vigilant gaze, self-expression is often curtailed in deference to societal norms, stifling the authentic self. To quiet this critic, a dialogue of compassion must be cultivated. Through patient introspection and self-kindness, its harsh echo can be softened, allowing a gentler self-perception to emerge, a delicate but profound shift towards acceptance and understanding. In the ebb and flow of emotional tides, a shame spiral can feel akin to stepping into quicksand, where a single misstep tugs one into a cyclonic descent of negativity. Within this spiral, engulfing waves of self-blame amplify from a single trigger. Thoughts stretch into catastrophic conclusions, weaving a tapestry of helplessness. This psychological quicksand is not just a mental state, it reverberates through the body, manifesting as stress and fatigue. Halting this descent requires mindful intervention, a purposeful pause where emotional awareness gently intervenes, allowing space for non-judgmental introspection. Through mindfulness and reaching out for connection, the spiral's grip can loosen, and a once tarnished self-image can find room to breathe and flourish anew. In the delicate balance between self-criticism and self-compassion, shame often casts a lingering shadow. Self-compassion, with its softness, acts as an antidote, offering refuge from the storms of self-doubt. By shifting internal dialogue towards kindness, shortcomings transform into the fertile ground for growth. In embracing imperfection with empathy, healing occurs, nurturing a self-image that values humanity within its imperfections. Practices that emphasize mindfulness and gratitude become sanctuaries of self-discovery, gently reframing narratives. As compassion becomes the dominant voice, shame's hold weakens, allowing a narrative of resilience and authenticity to unfold. Yet, in the quest for external validation, shame's spectre often lurks, dictating an endless pursuit of approval. The need for external affirmation turns into a precarious wager, where self-worth hinges on others' assessments. This perpetual seeking can tether self-perception to societal judgments, obscuring personal desires. Finding solace within requires cultivating an internal dialogue, distinguished by affirmation and authenticity, appreciating intrinsic worth removed from external praise. This internal reflection does not forsake external feedback, but places it within a context of self-guided growth, nurturing a self-image rooted in personal truth. Perfectionism stands as another shield, fashioned against vulnerability. To outward eyes it might seem a polished strength, yet within lies a fear of imperfection equated with failure. This pursuit constrains growth, limiting authentic expression. Shedding this armour involves embracing vulnerability reimagining success beyond flawlessness. By accepting mistakes as teachers, the hold of shame-driven perfectionism can be released, showcasing a self-image open to joy and creativity. A liberation where authenticity and growth coexist peacefully. Dissolving shame within social comparison involves embracing individual journeys, recognizing that others' successes neither diminish nor define one's worth, allows gratitude to seed contentment. Practicing gratitude and focusing on unique paths fosters a sense of value, disrupting shame's narrative. By shifting narratives from competition to collaboration, a harmonious self-image emerges, enhancing personal satisfaction and mutual respect. Building emotional resilience serves as a foundation against shame's potential corrosiveness, bestowing grace amidst adversity. This gradual crafting involves emotional intelligence, fostering understanding of emotions without permitting judgment to define worth. Practices like mindfulness and cognitive techniques provide a bulwark where psychological flexibility allows growth. The journey towards resilience transforms self-image, creating space for authenticity and acceptance that resists shame's constraints. The odyssey towards transforming shame culminates in rewriting one's narrative. Through conscious reflection, old stories of limitation are reconstructed into tales of potential and veiled strengths. Embracing authenticity opens vistas of growth, promoting dialogues rooted in self-acceptance. As new stories of wholeness unfold, the self-image once bound by shame finds reimagining, a sanctuary for the self in its splendour, honouring past and present in gentle accord, allowing for future potential to unfurl with grace and authenticity. In the quiet corridors of the human heart, shame weaves an intricate tapestry. It whispers secrets of protection, wrapping us in a delicate veil of safety. This veil, woven from threads of ancient instinct, encourages us to hide those parts of ourselves we deem flawed. By cloaking ourselves in this veil, we believe we evade the piercing gaze of the world, its judgments, its scorn. Deep within the amniotic fluid of our desires for love and acceptance, this veil seems to offer sanctuary. Yet its promise is tenderly misleading, for while it shields us from the bite of rejection, it also imprisons us within the cocoon of isolation, cutting us off from the sacred intimacy of true connection. This protective shroud of shame often emerges from the soil of early criticism, the sting of words that guided us towards invisibility as a fortress. We learn through subtle and not so subtle cues that in remaining unseen, we escape the harsh embrace of judgment. This stratagem transforms into an armour, a guise that ensures that our most genuine selves, with all their exquisite imperfections, remain shielded. But in the shadow of this armour, our inherent radiance, our capacity for empathy, creativity, love, remains hidden, longing for the light of authenticity's day. Recognizing this dual nature of shame as both a guardian and a barrier is the first gentle breath in dismantling its illusory protection for the genuine safety found in openness. The allure of invisibility murmurs soft promises of escape from scrutiny. In its comforting depths, it promises refuge from the stark glare of exposure, a cloak that distances us from the pain of being seen fully. Within this space, we feel secured from the world's penetrating eyes, safeguarded from external inspection. Yet, this sanctuary is a mirage. It shelters us from transient discomfort, but incubates a deeper loneliness. In hiding, we become spectres in our own lives, forgoing the warmth of real human connection and the growth that springs from vulnerability's fertile soil. In these shelters of obscurity, the landscapes of our relationships are carved not from authenticity, but from wariness, a dance bound by caution. Our interactions, drawn from the well of avoidance, become mere performances, hollowed of authenticity. This illusion traps us, creating a void where intimacy once thrived. To step beyond these self-imposed confines requires faith, a trust that within visibility lies the gentle power of true safety, found not in hiding but in embracing the authenticity that unravels our shackles. Jungian shadow work serves as a guide through these shadowed realms, inviting us to brave the depths of our own psyches. In the reflective pools of introspection, we meet the facets of ourselves we've hidden in shame's embrace. It is here in these hidden alcoves that shame's protective mask is gently peeled away, exposing the tender spaces beneath. Shadow work does not seek to abolish these aspects of self, but to integrate them, weaving them into the rich tapestry of who we truly are. For in this integration, shame's protective guise morphs into a tool for expansion, a catalyst for transformation. In this sacred ritual, we offer gratitude to the shame that once sheltered us, acknowledging its role with gentle compassion. As we illuminate these shadowed parts, we dismantle once perceived defences, redirecting their energies toward a more fulfilling existence. With piety, we turn from shame's shadowy works to realms of empowerment, realising, as myth and soul entwine, that strength lies not in masquerade, but in the unveiled courage of authenticity. Thus, our journey to liberation is not a singular leap, but a gentle, ongoing unveiling, a tender release into the expansive latitude of truth, courage, and love. In the tapestry of adulthood, vulnerability weaves its delicate threads, drawing us into intimacies that reveal our deepest fears. The spectre of shame hovers close, a lurking giant ready to awaken at a moment of exposure. Adulthood's dance with vulnerability recalls tender confessions of love, pleas for help, or the raw honesty of baring one's soul. Acts that promise profound connection, but also the sting of rejection. It is a familiar paradox, standing bravely open to the warmth we crave, while risking the harsh echo of old wounds. Like shadowy twin, shame clings to vulnerability, urging us to hide our imperfections, whispering that exposure equates to unworthiness. Yet, as Carl Rogers esteemed, embracing one's true self, imperfections and all, leads to self-actualization. Still, the high-stakes gamble of authenticity looms large, daring us to drop the masks of conformity and confront the abyss Nietzsche described, a fearsome void staring back into us. Our adult lives become stages where we don intricate masks, careful facades that shield us from judgment. But these delicate constructions come at a price. Shakespeare's wisdom lingers, reminding us that our roles, while protective, imprison authenticity. As the masks slip, discomfort ensues, challenging carefully composed identities and reinforcing shame's stifling walls. Society often promotes success and invulnerability at all costs, leading us to sacrifice genuine connections for approval. Brené Brown reminds us that true connections are rooted in authenticity, disrupted by the masks designed to protect us. To unmask is to dance with vulnerability, a choice between the comfort of isolation and the risk of connection. In relationships, the mirror of intimacy reflects our shadow selves. Love, friendship, and family ties tug at dormant shame, whispered through fear of not being genuinely accepted. Carl Jung spoke of the anima and animus, dualities within us that intimacy illuminates. In embracing love, asking for forgiveness, or admitting fear, we wade into a battlefield where shame and acceptance fiercely clash. Viktor Frankl believed meaning could transform suffering, turning intimacy from a source of fear to a wellspring of growth. Here lies the potential for redemption, where vulnerability is the gateway to healing and integration. Professional life too molds our encounter with shame, where the facade of competence often masks our inner truths. The workplace perpetuates a myth where vulnerability equates to weakness. We chase performance perfection, desperately concealing failure's shame. Nietzsche challenges us to dismantle these facades, finding courage in authenticity. Yet the workplace minefield threatens to cost us respect or advancement. Shame in professional realms is unyielding, its ally perfectionism compelling us to hide uncertainty. Here lies the invitation to transform face risks into growth, a radical shift in corporate culture, fostering innovation and genuine connection. Throughout life's journey, shame lingers as emotional baggage shaped by history and societal expectations. This weight, invisible yet present, seeps into choices and interactions. Unexamined, it grows, a carousel of emotional burden mutating with new experiences. Carl Rogers heralds self-awareness as the key to emotional freedom, confronting shame's accretions and understanding their roots. Awareness pierces the veil, revealing the personal needs and boundaries otherwise obscured. Through courage, we shed these burdens, crafting a life-honouring authenticity over fear in the relentless pursuit of meaning. Social norms also weave complex tapestries where conformity suffocates individuality. Unspoken rules govern belonging and rejection. Shame becomes societal control, compelling adherence to collective expectations. The boundaries blur between genuine connection and social performance. But existential inquiry into belonging and the choice to stand apart illuminates the transformative power of shame. It is a crucible of growth, challenging social norms to forge connections grounded in truth. To stand apart is a testament to the spirit, a step toward liberation from shame's grasp. The creative act becomes a sanctuary, a personal revolution against shame's demands for silence. Whether painting emotions, penning untold truths, or voicing vulnerabilities through art, expression defies shame. Carl Jung saw creativity as the soul's outlet, nurturing psychic health and revealing depths. Revelation requires self-trust and a judgment-free community to bear witness. As tales unfold, adults liberate silenced voices, with shame transmuted into inspiration. Creativity weaves a shared tapestry of human experience, tearing down shame's terror and offering a journey of acceptance. Resilience grows as adults understand and navigate shame's triggers, often rooted in past wounds reawakened by present contexts. Resilience does not banish feelings, but fosters transformation and growth. Viktor Frankl speaks to the resilience needed to confront shame's hauntings, urging self-reflection and emotional literacy in mapping inner terrains. Here lies the strength to respond with agility, transforming criticism into reflection and growth. Letting go of shame become the journey of liberation from past judgments and limitations. Forgiveness for self and others loosens shame's grip, allowing us to see it as a visitor, not a defining essence. This path involves mastering emotional reactivity and embracing an existence free of past shadows. Mystics and philosophers remind us freedom is found within, in the courage to embrace one's true self. Reclaiming wholeness and worth calls for integrating all parts of the self, transcending shame's grasp. It is recognizing every fragment of our being as vital to our human tapestry. Jung's individuation journey celebrates the integration of conscious and unconscious, while Rogers champions unconditional, positive regard. This reclamation is a dance between acceptance and challenge, vulnerability and strength. Each choice molds a narrative of courage, moving toward authenticity and love, healing shame's wounds to embrace destiny. In the hushed corners of our hearts where fears and vulnerabilities reside, shame can quietly take root. It is an elusive companion, often unacknowledged, yet its whispering presence is felt like a gentle shadow over our sense of self-worth. These soft whispers of inadequacy slip into our minds, manifesting in moments when we shrink beneath the luminous weight of others' expectations or our own harsh self-criticism. Awakening to this silent weight requires a pause, a graceful stillness where we listen with openness and curiosity, recognizing the threads of shame that weave through our lives. As we become attuned to these threads, we unravel the triggers, sharp words from a friend, the sting of past mistakes, or those small echoes that tell us we are not enough. Each instance carves away at our soul, imprinting narratives of deficiency. By embracing an earnest self-inventory, we map these emotional landscapes not with judgment, but with quiet revelation, our awareness lighting the path to liberation. In naming our shame, we engage in a delicate dance with our hidden shadows, illuminating them with gentle grace. In this delicate unraveling, we find a voice for shame, transforming it from an insidious whisper into a character within our own story. By imagining shame as a wise but misunderstood sage residing in our psyche, we begin an intimate dialogue. This sage may speak in harsh tones, carrying echoes of criticism, but with tenderness we lend our ear without judgment, allowing shame to unfold its story. Writing down our conversations with shame, like scribing letters or journal entries, transmutes abstract emotions into visible ink, where patterns reveal themselves and start to dissolve under the soft light of mindfulness. Our bodies tell these tales too, harbouring shame in the curl of our shoulders, the tension of our jaws, the downward gaze that averts connection. Each posture, a story house of our shame's residence. Mindful observation, through body scans or the sacred movements of yoga, ushers awareness to these corners where shame nestles. Here we offer our bodies kindness, a balm to soothe the wounds shame has sown, unravelling the bindings with patient reflection. Voice, too, becomes a powerful ally in this journey. Our inner monologue, that quiet soundtrack guiding the symphony of our lives, can be seized by shame, drowning out self-love and potential. By attuning to this inner voice, discerning its patterns and source, we begin to reclaim it. Introspective practices, like contemplative meditation or mindful journaling, allow us to extricate the entangled narratives, rephrasing them into affirmations rooted in self-compassion. In the embrace of all emotions, we find peace not by silencing, but by accepting our feelings without judgment. We grant shame the space to breathe, letting it float like a cloud across the sky of our consciousness. Through the art of perception, we perceive these emotions not as adversaries, but as ephemeral guests, destined to pass. This acceptance becomes the seedbed for transformation, dissolving resistance and nurturing a space for genuine healing. The act of naming becomes an art, a sacred acknowledgement of our inner labyrinth. We name the unnameable, confronting the discomfort with soft curiosity, inviting our fears into the light. Through rituals like journaling, these conversations become intricate tapestries of our emotional landscape, shifting from fear to familiar companions, unveiled by the soft illumination of our awareness. In this mindful practice, we walk paths toward inner peace. With each step, each breath taken in meditation, each word penned in a journal, we gently shift the tides of entrenched patterns, naming what once laid hidden. Introspective writing, a vessel for our truths, offers a bridge from emotion to word, anchoring our stories in reality and charting our growth. Naming becomes a whisper of the compassionate relationship we nurture with ourselves. Through these practices, empathy becomes the lens through which we heal, turning inward to dissolve shame's confines. We offer ourselves the understanding we naturally extend to others, acknowledging emotions with tenderness, seeing them not as burdens but as steps towards growth. This inward empathy ripples outward, knitting bonds of shared humanity, revealing vulnerabilities as bridges connecting us to others. Rituals become the moorings of transformation. Daily affirmations, visualizations, or tender acts of self-kindness. These sacred moments ground new narratives. We engage in the gentle rhythms of our lives, affirming a commitment to growth and authenticity. Each ritual dismantles old constructs, crafting a space of authenticity and peace. In this unending journey toward wholeness, each realization becomes a piece of an intricate jigsaw, forming the tapestry of self-acceptance. Wholeness is not about perfection, but a harmonious dance of all our parts, light and shadow intertwined, honoured equally. In the reflection of our life's canvas, shame does not wash away, but transforms, becoming a vessel of wisdom, birthing resilience. As we navigate this exploration, we kindle an ever-deepening understanding of self, knowing no emotion is wasted, no experience forgotten. It is through this, the gentle art of naming, that we slowly come to rewrite the sacred pages of our stories. In the shadowy labyrinth of the mind, where shame whispers its insidious tale, compassion emerges as a gentle lantern, illuminating paths of healing with its soft, unyielding glow. Unlike judgment, which pierces with sharp criticism and fuels the fires of internal disdain, compassion wraps wounds in warmth, allowing us to walk the corridors of our vulnerabilities not with enmity, but with understanding and grace. It is not sympathy nor pity that drives this force, but a profound recognition of our shared human imperfection, where mistakes and failures are woven into the fabric of existence. When this gentle understanding is turned inward, we find ourselves relieved from the burdens of harsh self-reproach, free to stumble without the weight of self-disdain dragging us further into shadow. Psychological and spiritual traditions alike hold compassion as a conduit to deep self-awareness and transformation. Carl Jung once spoke of the catalytic power of unconditional, positive regard, a cornerstone of compassion that fosters profound personal growth. This philosophy invites us to extend to ourselves the same kindness we unhesitatingly offer others, soothing the sting of internalized shoulds and musts with a balm of acceptance. In acknowledging shame as a universal human experience, compassion dissolves its isolating hold, reinforcing the intrinsic worth within each of us. Yet the path to self-compassion is often shrouded in resistance, especially for those conditioned to equate value with flawless performance. Society's celebration of self-criticism as a propellant for success complicates this journey. But scientific exploration into the realms of psychology shows that self-compassion, rooted in self-kindness, mindful awareness, and a unifying human perspective, cultivates resilience far deeper than that born from harshness. By embracing tenderness amidst perceived failures, we disrupt the cycle of shame and open ourselves to healing. Kristin Neff's pioneering work on self-compassion provides a map to confront shame. It beckons us to treat ourselves with empathy, akin to how we'd console a cherished friend. This process does not excuse accountability. Rather, it balances our view, transforming potential destruction into constructive opportunity. By embracing the inevitability of mistakes, we unravel the shame narratives that once stood as barriers to our belonging. Here, self-compassion dismantles not only the grip of shame, but cultivates growth and psychological well-being. The presence of a compassionate witness, whether a therapist, mentor, or trusted soul, offers catharsis in shame's presence. Such witnessing helps to rewrite our internal tales, offering a mirror reflecting empathy and validation back to us. Through their acceptance, we are challenged to question deep-seated beliefs of unworthiness, thus loosening shame's stranglehold over our narratives. Everyday interactions gain profound meaning through compassion, much like stories shared by firelight in ancient times. Relationships, when nurtured with care, challenge us to embrace our authenticity, planting seeds of courage that bloom into vulnerability. The knowledge that someone sees and accepts us entirely fosters belonging and emboldens our true selves to breathe freely. Confession, whether through words, art, or another form of expression, acts as a key to unlock shackles of shame. By daring to reveal concealed facets of ourselves, we step into ownership of our stories, transforming them from chains to bridges. When met with compassionate eyes, confession strips away the power shame wields, replacing it with a reaffirmed sense of worth and alignment. Cultivating a compassionate inner dialogue reshapes a critical voice into one that is tender and nurturing. It begins with recognizing harsh self-judgments and slowly replacing them with affirmations that speak of inherent value. Over time, this gentler voice becomes naturally ingrained, guiding us towards resilience and authentic acceptance. Forgiveness, a vital act on this journey, frees us from shackles forged by past transgressions. It demands we release resentment and transcend what once bound us to shameful memories. This journey fosters self-compassion and recognizes our humanity beyond failures, transforming accountability into a vessel for growth, as Viktor Frankl might suggest. Incorporating rituals infused with compassion, whether through journaling, meditation, or creative expression, invites structured reflection. These practices transform everyday actions into ceremonies of self-care that help us glimpse beyond shame to recognize the beauty within our imperfections. Finally, through embracing compassion, emotional resilience finds fertile ground. It involves extending kindness even amidst personal failures, creating an internal sanctuary against shame's creeping shadows. Guided by a deep acceptance of life's ebb and flow, we embody the courage to integrate and embrace even the darkest parts of ourselves. Relationships steeped in compassion form vessels of healing that challenge the cycle of shame, offering models of acceptance and understanding. Such bonds reinforce self-compassion, reminding us we are more than our flaws and celebrating our journeys towards authenticity and belonging. As we weave compassion throughout our lives as an ongoing practice, we unshackle ourselves from self-imposed perfectionist chains, inviting instead a gentle acceptance of our wondrous complexities. With patience and dedication, compassion becomes a guiding beacon, illuminating paths of love and understanding in ourselves and others, forever freeing us from the shadows of shame. In the gentle embrace of night, where whispers of dreams converge with waking thoughts, we embark on a journey beyond the shadows that have long shaped our perception. It begins by awakening to the lingering echoes of shame, those soft murmurs that reside deep within, reminiscent of past encounters and parental tones that taught us to retreat. These whispers glide silently through our consciousness, rising when vulnerability befalls us, urging us to shrink away. Cognitive threads interweave, questioning our worth, a gentle tug reminding us of perceived inadequacy. And so we sit quietly with these echoes, allowing the discomfort to envelop us like a cold mist, discerning them for what they are, remnants of our early shell. These shadows, once potent, begin to dissipate under the light of awareness, each observation loosening their hold. Within this hallowed space of introspection, vulnerability reveals itself as a sacred strength. It challenges the common narrative, a narrative that equates openness with fragility. To embrace vulnerability is to welcome all that we are and all we shall become. Here lies the bravery of authenticity, standing bare amidst our imperfections. No longer guarded, we unravel the threads of shame, piece by piece, until they are but distant memories. In our openness, we forge connections enriched by empathy and understanding, every shared story blending into a harmonious tapestry of universal experience. Each truthful word, each moment of authenticity, chisels away isolation's walls, bringing us ever closer to the warmth of collective humanity. This transformative journey beckons us towards radical self-acceptance, an embrace of every aspect of our being. This is not a conditional agreement, but rather an unconditional love affair with oneself. It's a warm acknowledgement of our intrinsic worth, manifesting beyond external validation or the palpable noise of achievement. In this state of grace, we welcome the shadows once cast aside, recognizing them as profound sources of wisdom. Acceptance becomes a daily practice, a sacred ritual. It whispers against the backdrop of internal critics, replacing their harshness with gentle affirmations, fostering resilience against society's fleeting judgments and perceptions. Here, in this journey beyond shame's final grasp, imperfection dances rhythmically with the possibility of growth. Life unfolds as an ever-changing canvas, where mistakes and missteps transform into strokes of experience. We relinquish unattainable ideals, allowing curiosity to guide us through the unknown, viewing obstacles as opportunities ripe with learning. Growth, we realise, is not a destination but a path, paved with stumbling blocks that merely enhance the texture of our narrative. We emerge, each misstep a brushstroke on the vast canvas where wisdom flourishes in imperfection. As emotion wells from the depths of our being, we venture to channel this energy into creativity. It morphs into a muse, guiding our hands to craft expressions that pulse with authenticity. Art, music, writing, each serves as a testament to resilience, taking the rawness once bound by shame and weaving it into a unique harmony of hope and expression. Creativity becomes a sanctuary, where judgment fades and the subconscious voice emerges. Here we find not only self-healing, but a bridge extending to others, connecting shared experiences in an ocean of empathy. Through creation, we distill emotion into a symphony that echoes through the soul. Boundaries, gems of self-love, emerge as essential to this transformative voyage. They are not walls, but rather sanctuaries, spaces where respect and self-preservation bloom. Boundaries affirm our right to exist untethered from the expectations of others, defining the sacred realms of our energy and spirit. The articulation of boundaries becomes a gentle practice of self-affirmation, crafted through introspection and dialogue. Here we nurture relationships adorned with mutual respect and flourish in an environment where our essence is honoured. In setting this sacred boundary, we affirm our existence, diverging from the shadows of doubt and firmly stepping into the light of who we truly are. As the story unfolds, it invites us into spaces of forgiveness, where we release the binds of past resentments, no longer shackled by the echoes of hurt. Forgiveness is liberation, a gentle release from the narratives that shame has spun. By forgiving ourselves, we tenderly acknowledge our humanity, embracing flaws as tender steps in the dance of life. And in forgiving others, we free ourselves from the chains of expectation, setting the stage for healing. This practice of letting go rejuvenates, opening pathways to peace, one breath, one heartbeat at a time. Within this newfound liberation, we cultivate present moment awareness, a sacred ritual that anchors us in the now. Mindfulness blossoms in the heart, weaving through the threads of past regrets and future anxieties, inviting us to savour each moment's richness. We embrace life's ephemeral beauty, letting it wash over us, a gentle tide smoothing the sands of thought and feeling. Breath by breath we return, whispering to the soul, awakening to authenticity with tender care. Thus, the tale culminates in self-authorship, where we reclaim the quill and parchment of our narrative. Here, we disentangle from the scripts written by shame and expectations, crafting our story anew with grace and intention. Empowered, we redefine narratives, dissolve shadows, and illuminate paths to choice, authenticity, and freedom. Here lies the heart of wholeness, colours vivid against the canvas of our being, united in a journey of discovery and love. As you would hold this moment tenderly, so too, remember to nurture this path with grace, inviting you to extend this tale to others. Like, subscribe, and step beyond your shadows into the light.